Alright troops, strong and conditioned, live and direct from the Chateau du BURPEE, and tonight we have a new twist. Tonight we have a new flavour with regards to content, and it is dissecting BURPEE performance. This is something I have always wanted to do, and it gives me artistic license to go through certain members of the BURPEE community and dissect their BURPEE technique, highlighting both the pros and the cons of said technique. And I thought I would start this venture off with the one and only, the legendary Max Edwards. And as you can see on the screen here, we have Max in a rather compromising position, where you can see his nice bald head, a newly acquired PhD fueled bald head, may I add. So congratulations to Max for procuring his PhD of philosophy. The man is one of the true thinkers of the BURPEE game. However, are his BURPEEs up to scratch? Well, we shall find out. Let's full screen this bad boy and we'll see with our own eyes, Miss Moneypenny. Okay, so we're just going to rewind back a little bit because obviously this is a new technique I'm using and I'm not used to this format. So we're going to go through Max's stellar technique and break it down.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Now, as you can see, Max has a very solid cadence.
1, 2, 3, 4.
It is textbook Max Edwards, and I would like to add here that Max seems to have refined his 6 counts since I last seen them, because I felt at one point they were becoming a blot of counts. However, I think Max has become aware of the count and has adjusted his technique considerably to reflect the count, so it becomes less of a blur. So as we can see, Max begins with a classic squat motion. Now I'm going to pause this because I want to go through this in fine detail. This is one of the things that Max excels at. His technique is stellar. Now, a lot of guys, when they do the squat technique, and I include myself in this camp, they will go onto their toes. Does Max do the same? Let's figure out.
5, 14, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 15, 1, 2.
Okay, so as you can see, if you look round about here, when Max goes down for the first count, his heels slightly come off the ground. This suggests that Max has superior flexibility, which allows him to get that good squat depth and not at not to affect the integrity of his ankle mobility. So hats off to Max for a stellar start to his BURPEE. Now we'll go for the 2 count. As you can see, when Max's hands hit the floor, he kicks the legs back. Now, because Max's program is volume over time, I would suggest there has to be a slight pause when Max kicks back into the top of the push-up position. But as you can see, Max goes straight into the push-up. Now, this is when it blurs the line of becoming a 1 pump and a 6 count in some respects. But I appreciate what Max is trying to achieve, and he is trying to keep that rigid 6 count technique within the context of a speed style session. And sometimes they may look like they are venturing into 1 pump territory, but as you can see, Max, because he has got such a massive brain, he is aware of this technique idiosyncrasy. Therefore, he kicks back and there's a slight pause for a second, although I would always hold that pause for a little second more, getting the benefits of the plank position. Now, let's look at Max when he goes down for the push-up. Max doesn't appear to hit full depth, and what I mean by that is that he doesn't let his chest hit the floor. However, that may be the camera angle, so I'm willing to give Max the benefit of the doubt on this one. However, as you can see from this angle, there doesn't appear to be chest hitting the floor. However, that is not a major crime. That is permissible within the BURPEE sphere. But if you're looking to achieve true 6 count perfection, it would always be suggested that your chest hits the floor. Now, another thing that Max does, which is unique to him, and it's probably something that helps him, and I'm sure he'll explain this, because when he sees that I've done this video, he will be who gives a shit? He will be consumed with rage, and he will do a rebuttal video trying to destroy myself because I've had the gall, I've had the audacity to critique his BURPEE. However, when we watch Max do the BURPEE, as you can see, Max flares his elbows to a certain degree. He doesn't go for that nice tucked in position that some of us do when we do the BURPEE, and once again, that's not a crime, that's just down to the discretion of the BURPEE practitioner. If it's something they're comfortable with, then it's definitely something that they should pursue, as long as they are still continuing to perform their BURPEEs. However, in that respect, Max doesn't flare, Max flares his elbows, he doesn't keep them nice and tucked in. Now, sometimes the illusion can be created when the camera's at this angle that there can be a hump almost in the upper back, and that's what it looks like in this situation, but I don't think that's the case. I think it's just the angle. Now, as we go to the bottom of the push-up and we come up, Max once again displays his excellent mobility, because he can come in a nice tucked squat position, which is going to relieve any pressure on his lumbar region within his back, which is an issue for a lot of BURPEE guys. A lot of BURPEE guys hurt their back doing BURPEEs, and it's due to the massive amounts of spinal flexion that occur. Max has excellent flexibility. It's very visible during his BURPEEs. You can see the way he comes in. His ankle mobility is spot on, and I'm slightly envious in that respect because I lack a degree of ankle mobility. So there's something to be learned here between Max's transition from the top of the push-up back to standing. Okay, so Max is an excellent BURPEE practitioner. He can more than hold his own. The pros of Max's style, as has been discussed, is his flexibility. His flexibility allows him to get in nice tucked in positions. He can get down to the ground in a nice controlled manner, and he keeps a beautiful cadence as well. All of Max's reps look identical to each other, which is even more credible in some respects because Max is doing a punishing amount of volume in such a short space of time. Max is one of the original speedsters on the BURPEE community scene. The only issues I have with Max's BURPEEs is the elbow position. I think that his elbows are too flared, and he could probably be best served by tucking his elbows in and getting more tricep work in. However, a tip that I would also offer Max is that you can also alter hand position with regards to width, and this is a cute wee trick that sometimes is performed in order to negate the effects of fatigue which start to creep up during higher volume BURPEE sessions. So hats off to Max. Hopefully he enjoys my Simon Cowell style critique, and hopefully he also takes on some pointers on board and can implement them, but we shall see because he's a stubborn old goat. Anyway, as you can see, I'm just fiddling about with this. Okay, so who is the next BURPEE practitioner that we shall dissect? It is my man David Whitten. David Whitten, the nice Canadian, very gentle gentleman as some would say. Let's go through David's BURPEEs. Okay. Let's full screen this shit. Oh, here we go, David in a nice position. Once again, David and Max have that similar outlook when it comes to BURPEEs, which is lifted with the iron move, which is keeping your shirt tucked in, which is something I've never subscribed to. I like to leave a shirt hanging out. Sometimes rules are made to be broken. Sometimes we need to keep our shirts hanging out because it's a cooler look. Now, as you can see from David's Spartan surroundings, he is a minimalist by nature, and this is sometimes reflected in his programs. They are minimalist in nature. He doesn't go for the complex routine. He keeps it simple. So let's crack on and look at David's BURPEEs. Now, once again, nice flow from David. Nice and consistent technique. Very tight shorts, David. You've got me worried there. But I'll miss that one out. You look like an old Liverpool player from the 80s, 90s, Kevin Keegan, Ian Rush. Now let's break this down from the first count. As David goes down, there's less of a squat, there's more spinal flexion on David's part. Now, does David keep his ankles close into the floor when he goes for the squat position? Right, so David's another guy who has good flexibility. However, David goes for a more hip hinge when he starts his burpee, whereas as the last one we've seen was Max, who goes in for a deep squat. David goes for more of a hip hinge, which could be a lack of mobility when it comes to the squat. So although his ankle mobility is good in this respect, it isn't compromised because his hips are doing a lot of the work as he goes down for the initiation of the burpee. So David, that's possibly something he could work on. However, if it works for him and he feels comfortable doing it, have at it, David, my man. Now, let's continue with the dissection. Now, David's similar to Max in that respect with these 6 counts, where as soon as his feet slide back into the top of the push-up position, he is going straight down for the push-up, which once again blurs the line between a pump and a count. Now, this is obviously because David's doing this in a busy dad style fashion, and this is where the speed style sessions can sometimes compromise technique, particularly within a classic 6 count. A classic 6 count, in my opinion, should be done to a cadence. And when you're trying to cram in as many of these 6 counts into a short space of time, then you are going to once again blur the lines of going into pump territory as opposed to count territory. Now, as you can see, David's also got a wee slip in the socks when he goes back. You can see his toes almost turning at a 90-degree angle. That's actually quite freaky to look at, David. What is happening to your toes there, mate? What is happening to your toes? That's actually pretty weird, David. That's freaking me out a wee bit. If you get prosthetic feet, okay, doke. So as David goes into the push-up, now David goes for nice depth on the push-up. Is his chest hitting the floor? It looks like it's just touching the floor. It's definitely going down to standard depth. If you want to put a upraised fist down there, then David's hand would be touching said fist. Look at David, he's a bit tired there, you know, he's getting his sweat on and he's walking about. As you can see, he's starting to develop a nice physique there as well, David. All that hard work is paying off. It's paying off. So let's get back to the burpees, David, my man. Here we go. Now, as we go into the push-up, as we come all the way back up, David achieves full lockout when he comes up. And that's perfect. There's no complaints there. Now, as you can see, the difference between David and Max is that when David comes in for the squat on the 5th count, he is keeping his hips high. There is no... The thigh isn't parallel to the ground. He's not keeping it nice and tucked in. He's once again going more for that hip hinge. And there is the onset of a degree of spinal flexion in that department, which is quite risky when it comes to burpees, particularly high volume burpees. This is something I became more aware of as I got older and more experienced in my burpee journey. So David once again comes up, bit of hip hinge at the end, but he gets a nice erect position. And one thing that David does here, which is something you don't really see a lot, is he retracts the shoulder blades to a certain degree when he comes up at the top, which is a nice touch. A lot of guys land at the top and they fold like a banana. So David's technique is, once again, you can tell he's a seasoned burpee veteran. You can only acquire this burpee technique through high volume repeated sessions. David is the only issues that David possibly has is that he could probably try and get a more tucked position when it comes to moving into the squat, so to speak. So once again, hats off to David, seasoned burpee veteran, great guy in the burpee scene, a lot of knowledge, very, very, very nice guy, always got words of support for everybody in the burpee community, and I think that's one of his definitely strong selling points. So salute to my man David Whitten. Okay, last one. Let's get the last one out of the way because this is quite a intimidating format for me. So I don't want to be on too long. Here he is, Jib Gastra. Look at that guy. Just look at this guy. Does he not just make you crack a smile straight away? And I've got him in a very uncompromising position at the start of the video. But I think Jib needs to work on his legs here. It looks like he's got, as we say in Scotland, sparrow legs at this point. Sorry, Jib. You know you're my man, but I think you need to start hitting the squats a bit harder, mate. But look at that chiseled upper body. Let's see what Jib has to offer. There he goes, again as the talk. Right, here we go. So we're going for a Navy SEAL with Jib, because Jib is known for the Navy SEALs. That's his mode of attack. And that is what he excels at. And Jib's shoulders must be made of elevator cables. They are so sturdy. He can put them through massive amounts of pain. And he just goes through Navy SEALs like a kid eating cotton candy. He is a monster when it comes to the Navy SEAL. However, what is his Navy SEAL technique like? Let's discuss. Now, as you can see, straight off the bat, when Jib performs the Navy SEAL and he goes down, even before his legs have hit the ground, he is straight into the push-up. But this is a pump style Navy SEAL, therefore that is a legit technique. And he wants to get down to the ground fast because he's doing 7 pumps, which means every single rep is going to failure. And he needs to negate that, particularly if he's trying to do a heavy amount in a short space of time. Now, as you can see as well, when Jib performs the Navy SEAL, he has a rocking style motion. It's almost for this angle that his derriere is the first thing that comes up as opposed to his shoulders. He's like a Mexican fucking wave in that respect. So I don't know if it's the angle, it may well be, but I think that Jib hits so high numbers that form is going to take a hit in some respects. And he would probably be best served at this point slowing down his Navy SEALs and focusing on all points of contact. Now, as you can see, straight into the pump there, straight on the ground. He's got that rocking motion. Now, but at the same time, we also see that Jib has that same thing as Max, where his elbows are completely flared. In fact, I would say there's more flair there than a fucking 1970s disco dance floor. So Jib, that probably works for, well, obviously fucking works for Jib because he's a master of the Navy SEAL. But is it something that could be refined and possibly improve his technique? That's only something that Jib can discover for himself. This is just theory. Now, I'm starting to get worried at how tight Jib's shorts are as well, and it's also scaring me that he told me recently that a lot of the young boys like to comment on his physique. So I'm starting to think, just looking at him now, that he's starting to glam it up a little bit to impress these young lads, being the old man that he is. Now, I've not really got much to say about Jib's technique because Jib blows me away when it comes to Navy SEALs. I actually feel a bit... I don't feel worthy of criticising Jib's Navy SEAL style because it works for him, but I'm just picking up on a couple of things that I notice. Jib's depth is incredible. His chest is hitting the floor on every set and he is achieving full lockout, so he's really putting his shoulders through the ringer. The only gripes I've got with Jib's technique is the flared shoulders and the rising of the hips before the actual chest comes up. So maybe that's something that Jib can look at. I think that what would sort these things out is probably a month's block of slowing down technique and just going for it in that respect. So anyway, guys, that was me dissecting 3 BURPEE practitioners' technique. If you would like me to dissect anyone else's technique, feel free to send some names in the comments. I'll just put this out there as a bit of fun. Hopefully the guys take it in good nature. They're more than welcome to dissect my BURPEE technique. That's how we grow as BURPEE practitioners, by debating, discussing, and sharing our knowledge and our opinions. Anyway, guys, it's been an absolute pleasure. I'm going to flip it back onto my program here, press stop record, and hopefully you enjoyed that. Take it easy, lads. Bye.